If you are watching this video, there is at least like a 50% odd that you are not subscribed to this channel. So if you are consistently watching videos on this channel and you are not subscribed, please be sure to do that, as it really helps me out and I much appreciate it. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. Also, there is a new episode of my Sixers My NBA series out now, episode 18, going over the trade deadline, where we add a new player to the roster. That series is starting to come to a close, so if you're interested in watching that series, please be sure to do that. And if you have not watched that episode already, please be sure to do that. But today I am talking about Blake Griffin and whether or not he is essentially, well, washed. He has really struggled this year, and I wanted to talk about those struggles. And this was really one of the main reasons why I picked the Detroit Pistons to be the worst team in the league, because I had a feeling that Blake Griffin was not going to be very good once he came back, and that has been the case thus far this season. Really, he seems very timid, and he's kind of just gone to this like spot shooter role, which is absolutely not what he's built for. He has not played aggressive whatsoever, seems perfectly content just being used as a playmaker and a spot shooter. He's still not a good defensive player, as he never really has been, but like, if you're not going to shoot the ball, at least you can contribute in other areas, but he hasn't really done that. He has the highest 3-point attempt rate of his career by a country mile. 62% of his shots are coming from 3-point range, when the most before that for a full regular season was 39%. So that is a big jump in that department. His true shooting percentage is significantly worse than it was a couple of years ago. It's only at 51%. Now, he also played poorly in the 2019-20 season for the 18 games that he played. There was a lot of hope that was just like a bad stretch where he wasn't really getting his footing like established yet. But Blake, at this point, this is the 10 games he's played this year, and this is really the only time that he has played like with complete what should be actual health. Like, of course, the injuries that he's had have affected his play style and how good he is currently, but even when he played those 18 games last year, there were still lingering injuries that he was dealing with, and there was the hope that by the time he got to the 2020-21 season, he would have recovered from those injuries to the point where he is not playing as poorly as he currently is. So what the hell is up with Blake Griffin, and is he truly washed? Well, as I said, with the 3-point attempt rate, him shooting 7 threes per game 2 years ago, when he had probably the best season of his career, was perfectly fine, because he was a good enough like percentage-wise shooter to justify 7 attempts per game. He shot 36%, which is not outstanding, but it is good enough to be enough to justify that amount of attempts. He also averaged 5 assists, almost 25 points, 7 rebounds. His all-around game was pretty good. Meanwhile, he was shooting very well from 3, the best he had in his career by far. And it just seemed odd that this year he's kind of just made the 3-point shooting his main thing, because even back when he had this 2018-19 season, which was where he was taking the most threes of his career to that point, his 3-point rate was still just 39%. So, and that was a career high for him, but it's not like suddenly Blake Griffin made this leap and had the best season of his career because he was a spot shooter. As for why his numbers have fallen off this much, well, first of all, the main reason, as I mentioned earlier, has to be the injury factor. Blake has dealt with a lot of injuries, and these 10 games are 10 of the 28 games he's played over the last 2 NBA seasons, and that's not counting even the break that happened with last season. So it's been a while for Blake Griffin, and he has not played consistent minutes in almost 2 years, so that is definitely not helping his case, and that's a rough thing to deal with. But it is odd, because it's not just like he is, not he's just taking shots and not making them. It's that he's become so timid. Like, the fact that he's taking spot up threes, it seems like he doesn't feel like attacking the basket that much. He's not being used in the pick and roll as much. This could also partially be blamed on Dwayne Casey, but like, his percentage of shots that are coming at the basket is only 18% when he's at 35% there for his career. So that's a big difference. From 0 to 3 feet, like layups basically and dunks, he is shooting pretty all right. I mean, it's not his career best by far, but 67%, it's not bad, but he's just not taking those shots. He's also almost completely eliminated mid-range shots from his repertoire. Like, he's taking 7% of his shots from 10 to just inside the three-point line range, which mid-range wasn't a big part of his game to this point, but it was some part of it, and he hasn't really taken that. Literally 62% of his shots are coming from three-point range, and that is odd. It seems like he's just not aggressive whatsoever. Now, another part of this, as I mentioned, the coaching with Dwayne Casey, it could be trying to adjust for the new additions, specifically Jeremy Grant and some of the young guys trying to get more opportunity. But I feel like Blake Griffin, I know he's a nice guy, but like I don't think he's going to sacrifice his numbers to at least this extreme in order to make Jeremy Grant feel comfortable or in order to make the young players get enough shots. I think what would have to be would be that Dwayne Casey is like telling him not to shoot the ball that much, and I don't know that that's necessarily the right move for the winning thing. I mean, it's partially that the Detroit Pistons are not trying to win basketball games right now, and even though the talent is not good enough to really win basketball games anyways, I guess there's an argument that if, you know, Blake Griffin was playing at his best, or at least something a lot better than this, they'd definitely be a better team, and they'd probably have won a few more games. So I guess maybe it's a tanking thing, but like I don't think that really holds up with Dwayne Casey specifically, because he's been playing veterans a lot with the Detroit Pistons, like a lot, to the point where I'm seeing Detroit Pistons fans on Twitter very angry with the fact that he's playing like Wayne Ellington more than Killian Hayes, which, I mean, if you were like being told to tank, you wouldn't be doing things like that. And in terms of player development, you wouldn't be doing things like that. So it doesn't seem like Dwayne Casey is prioritizing young players at all. And I don't think Blake Griffin would just be like, I'm not going to shoot the ball because I want to make Jeremy Grant comfortable. So the situation, it has to be injuries, and then like the way that, more so than just the injuries affecting his athleticism, I think it's gone to the point where it's affecting his head, to where he feels uncomfortable attacking the basket because he's afraid he's going to get hurt again. And you don't really get hurt all that much when you're just spotting up and shooting three-pointers. It still happens, but not nearly as much as when you're slashing in the paint, trying to bully people out of the way of the basket and get shots around the paint, jumping a bunch. It's a much safer game to be a spot-up shooter than to be a guy who is running a bunch of pick and rolls, a guy who is attacking the basket a bunch. So my theory would be that the injuries he's sustained over the past couple of years have affected his psyche to the extent where he just doesn't feel comfortable doing anything more than just being a spot-up guy. And then the fact that there are more shot-creating options on this team now has made him feel like, okay, it's okay for me to not shoot the ball as much because Jeremy Grant has been really good this year, and Derrick Rose can shoot the ball, and we have some young guys who can shoot the ball. And I mean, he's not entirely wrong with that mindset, but even if he was going to shoot the ball less, you would also hope that he would make the shots more, because he's shooting 31% from three right now, he's shooting 38% from the field as a whole, 50% true shooting percentage. So he's not exactly being efficient when he's being less aggressive. So it's not like there's a trade-off there. And then also another thing with this is the free throw attempts, only 2.8 per game on 68%. The last 2 years, he has averaged, I think, a little over, he shot 7 free throws per game over the last 2 years. I guess 2019-20 is not a huge sample size, but specifically in the 2018-19 season where he looked awesome, the guy was shooting 7 free throws a game, and really, for his career, he shoots 7 free throws per game. But this year specifically, he has only shot 2.8 per game. So that's another way to highlight his lack of aggressiveness. The fact that he's taking so many threes, like he is literally only attempting 4.4 two-pointers per game, which when you look for his career numbers, that actually seems genuinely crazy, because for his career numbers, he shoots 14.5 two-pointers per game. So the guy has literally just turned into a spot shooter who's not even that good of a shooter, not attacking the basket, being used as a playmaker a bit, because that's one thing that he really has always been good at as a power forward. and he has just not been the Blake Griffin of old by any margin. So as for the question of the title of this video and the topic of this video, is Blake Griffin washed? Well, I mean, there's reason to be hopeful because it has just been 10 games. Last year it was just 18 games, and there's an argument that he just needs to get his footing in there, and then he's going to adjust and be more okay. And I mean, it is a small enough sample size that maybe he just needs to play a good amount of games to get comfortable. You could take the Gordon Hayward argument here, where like Gordon got that injury and then it took him like a full year of actually playing basketball before he really got comfortable enough to be his old self again. And there's a chance that that's the case with Blake Griffin. I don't remember the exact details of his injuries, like what they exactly were, but they tend to be lower body injuries. I know that. And Blake Griffin has dealt with a lot of injury throughout his career, which has definitely hurt his athleticism, which used to be ridiculous and now is just pretty much just good. But Blake is still a very skilled player, and even without his athleticism, he should be good enough to be a 20-point-per-game guy and someone who's not just being a spot shooter. So I think it's really just a matter of these injuries have gotten into his head. As for the hope of him being a better player, well, I think once if he gets to establish himself as a healthy player, then he can at least be like an efficient 18-point-per-game guy who also gets like 4 assists and 8 rebounds, shoots pretty decent from the field and from three. And that's a good player, still nowhere near worth the contract that he has, but he wasn't going to be worth that really anyways. So, I mean, is Blake Griffin washed? I'm not going to say yes right now, but it's definitely not looking good. This is a 10-game sample size, but really more so than the sample size that's really problematic, it's how timid he has been. Because even last year, when he was not playing very good, he was not this timid. He was more timid than normal, but like the aggressiveness and the star mindset has not existed with Blake Griffin whatsoever, and that is cause for concern. But is he washed? We're going to have to wait and see, but it does not look very good. But yeah, go check out that Sixers My NBA video and series if you have not already. And that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.